a very special good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing as we get into springtime. That's right. It's right around the corner here. We made it to March 1st, Lubie. Can you believe 2 months of 2024 already in the books? And in the sporting world, there's so many things as hope springs eternal when we get to springtime. Yeah, Major League Baseball has spring training games, exhibition games underway. Still some movement to be done before things are formalized and finalized in terms of rosters. You got Scott Boras out there asking for tons of cash for a bunch of guys that all could make a big difference to contending clubs, especially. And so that's out there, and people are speculating all kinds of crazy metrics going into who's going to be the first four in, the first four out in the NCAA tournament. Do you follow that at all, or does it get to be so annoying that after a while you just want to punch Joe Lunardi every time you see him come up on the screen? It's like, shut up already, Lunardi. I don't give a fuck about these teams. What do you think?
I used to follow it. Now I don't know. I mean, especially this far out, there's still like 2 to 3 weeks of the regular season left, and then you have a tournament. A lot can happen, especially that last tournament weekend, conference tournament weekend. So I know it tries to make college basketball matter more. For me, I sort of lost its weight. We'll see in like 3 weeks who's 4 in, 4 out, and all that garbage.
I'm reading incredible, Pythagorean theorem about how St. John's. You see that, Libby? They got Rick. He wore the white suit the other day. They had a whiteout day at Madison Square Garden. He wore the white suit. A little bit reluctantly. He said he was thinking about it. His wife talked him into it, and he had to go and get one specially tailored, which Pitino has the means to be able to do that after all these years at the top as a head coach. A lot of people, thinking that he was going to turn the Johnnies around immediately. St. John's went from Iona, where he did an incredible job after a couple of years of isolation in Greece. And then he started raiding the transfer portal and getting some of his players from Iona and players from other schools. He got the big stud from Harvard. But it didn't really pan out exactly as the people in New York. I mean, holy Luke Arneseka, what are we talking about here? They haven't been to the tournament since 2019, which is that long enough ago to start to develop some concerns that, we ain't ever going to make it back there.
Maybe.
You would think if anybody could propel St. John's back onto the college basketball map, it would be Rick Pitino, which he has. I mean, people are paying attention to him, but Utah has to lose by 6 points to a girls' school. If they do that, then they move to number 50 in the metrics. And if that happens, then it's beneficial to St. John's somehow. I don't know how you calculate all of this shit. I mean, you would think that just looking at the record and the way the team played overall might be enough. But analytics has just infused its way in some kind of heinous fashion into virtually everything, including, do I even bother to bring it up, Louie? The fabled fucking that took place when Florida State got left out of the college football playoffs, only to see, the Michigan Wolverines prevail anyway. So it would have made a little difference if they had accommodated Florida State for their undefeated season and given them a break and given them at least a shot to go in there and show that they didn't deserve to be there, that they had earned that much. But a lot of wild calculations going into all of this stuff. And yet, with all that being said, and I remember when the NFL Network first came into existence, you were thinking, oh, great, I get to watch the Combine. And then you realize that the Combine was just a piece of shit, that it really didn't matter. One of my favorite aspects about the Combine, besides the fact that many of the things that the players participate in are seemingly irrelevant to actually being good at playing that position. I mean, does it really matter if an offensive tackle that weighs 360 pounds and is virtually like Sid Fernandez, the human eclipse of the sun, nobody can get around this guy? Does it matter if he runs a 4.8 40?
No.
When's he going to run 40 yards? At any time during the game? Never. It's never going to happen. Now, some of these agility drills, I guess, are sort of interesting, right? Because I was never very good at this. I don't know, Libby. You weren't around when they had the president's test of physical fitness, were you? I mean, this was a thing that came, I believe, out of the Kennedy administration, where they had the schools administer this test that involved a bunch of different things that you might see at the Combine, like a shuttle run and running side to side, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, vertical leap, these sort of things. And I was always horrible at that. I was a decent athlete, but I was horrible. I guess I was a non-athletic game player, and they didn't really have like athletic moves. Let's put it that way. Although I was fairly smooth at what I did, and had, I don't know about solid fundamentals, but nonetheless, I don't know. When you look at the stuff, when you started seeing the combine on NFL Network, did it not deflate any interest and diffuse any interest you might have in this sort of exercise and trying to figure out, well, who moved up and who didn't? Because it seems like the scouts ignore that stuff anyway. They've already predetermined who they're going to take. And for the most part, I don't know. Do you see guys really make giant quantum leaps forward by impressing people at the combine? Maybe one guy out of the 1,000 or whatever that go. Not even sure how many they have there. But the interesting thing to me was always that quarterbacks would go to the combine and declare before they went that they weren't going to throw.
Exactly.
What else would you want to see the guy do besides throw a football? Do you really need to see him, doing some kind of shuttle run or anything along those lines? I don't think so. And we don't need to know that he's slower than Rich Eisen in a suit.
Exactly.
Still classic. I mean, what is the lasting image of all combine coverage throughout the history of the combine and its now televised status is Tom Brady. Running like a slug. Running like some guy that you would think never had an athletic moment in his lifetime. It becomes the greatest quarterback of all time. And if all you looked at was his 40-yard dash, you would have said to yourself, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if this guy could play in the World League of American Football and wear some hideous outfit and go somewhere in Germany to chuck the rock. But this was the best of them all. I mean, in general, if you talk to people inside the NFL, they say the real value, besides trying to figure out, it's too bad he's not in the league anymore. Is he in any capacity in the league? Jeff Ireland, former general manager of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, he's
still around.
It's either GM or assistant GM. He's actually done a good job with someone. Let me.
Oh
see.
Yeah. That was really
definitely
one of the highlights of any kind of combine coverage was to find out what idiotic, irrelevant question Jeff Ireland was asking people. That would not only insult the player at 19 years old, but his entire family, as he was trying to find out what the essence of these people were as characters and human beings before he was going to go and commit to maybe investing a lot of money in them as a high draft pick. And he would ask players, what's up?
He's the Saints assistant GM and head of college scouting.
All right. Maybe he's very good at that. I don't know. He wasn't very good at these interviews. Where he would ask some poor unsuspecting kid, so your mother's a hooker. How do you feel about that?
This Brian thing is classic.
Really, Jeff?
What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, what does that have to do with yards after the catch? Exactly. I don't know. I mean, you're going to make some equation to that somehow? I mean, you're really digging deep there, Sigmund Freud. What the fuck are you talking about? But now the topper of all when it comes to the combine was Caleb Williams, who's going to be the number one pick. I would imagine he's going to end up with the Bears. Almost everybody seems convinced that Fields is going to be traded, possibly to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who supposedly covet his services and his skill set, which started to take shape and make you think that, all right, that this guy's got a little bit of potential. The Bears, surprisingly, were in a lot of games this past year, although I don't know that all of it was attributable to Fields having phenomenal days, but he did have some spectacular games. And I don't know, is that atypical of that type of quarterback where, 4 games you look at the guy and you say, my God, this guy's a second coming to Montana. And then 4 games you look at the guy and he's horrendous. Yep. And in the other 8 games, he's Yeah. Typical of, that type of guy. I don't know. I hope he does well. And it looks like he's going to be traded. But Caleb Williams, the one thing that you hear from insiders in the NFL or anybody that attends the combine is that the real benefit is that, and its purpose originally was just to have a one central medical examining place where all the teams could get whatever it is that they wanted to decipher in terms of medical information about a player before they made a decision on whether or not to draft him, which we know is somewhat irrelevant. We know it especially because the medical staff of the Miami Dolphins at one point took a crippled Dante Culpepper over future Hall of Famer and record-breaking, sizzling hot quarterback, Super Bowl winner, Drew Brees, because they said that Brees' shoulder would never heal up. This guy wouldn't be able to throw the ball 5 yards down the field at any time in the future, and that Culpepper was going to be fine. So Culpepper shows up to his first day of practice in a wheelchair, and meanwhile, Drew Brees is lighting it up for Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints and becomes a legendary figure in the Emerald City. Unbelievable. So, I mean, what do we know? Medical staffs, is it really all that critical? I guess if a guy's got an obvious problem and you look on x-rays or whatever, MRIs, and say, my God, this guy's knee, it looks like Doc from Gunsmoke. I mean, he's completely shot. All right, that would be valuable information. But Caleb Williams sets a precedent now, and he is not only. I don't know if he's going to throw the football. That would be nice, wouldn't it, if he was going to have a tryout, essentially? But he's not going to do any of the medical exams. That's the new one.
Really?
Yeah. So the only reason that anybody would want to have a guy show up here at the combine, especially if he wasn't going to throw the football, and you already knew what the hell he was capable of doing, is to see if there's any damage there that maybe doesn't meet the eye on the surface. Maybe he's not limping, but he's got something developing there that's going to be completely debilitating. And this guy won't last 3 years in the league, and the doctors might be able to detect that. But he's the one guy now, and in the history, I believe, of the combine that has found a way to avoid doing any of the medical tests, which would be the only reason to show up. So what the hell is this guy doing here? I don't know.
Why is he not doing? I don't understand. That would
he just doesn't want to be subjected to all these doctors asking the same question and probing him in the same way. So he's not doing any of it. None of it.
But who's drafting without knowing his medical? Like, will he do medicals when he goes on visits? Like,
I guess. I don't know, but he didn't want to do it at the combine.
I don't give
which was the main purpose of the combine, besides the Ireland stuff.
Yeah, he better do medicals. I mean, I wouldn't draft a guy like that's fucking weird. You need to know where he's at. Like,
was Ireland just like Roy Firestone in an interview where his main objective was to make the person cry?
I think he was an idiot.
Like he didn't feel like he had accomplished anything until the person was in tears, right?
I mean, he almost got in a fist fight with fans because they told him he sucked. Like Ireland was a long line of horrendous GMs. Ireland sucked.
Among the worst, yeah. No doubt about it. Exposed in a very negative light when, unfortunately for the Miami Dolphins, they let themselves be subjected. Now, they did the in-season version of this, and I didn't get to see any of the episodes. But when they were on Hard Knocks, when Joe Philbin took over as head coach, and Ireland comes in, he tells them, hey, I just traded your starting cornerback. And Philbin's like completely blindsided by it. And he goes, oh, okay. Turned out to be a bozoic move as they got nothing back in return. And the player went on to have several good seasons before he finally flamed out there and succumbed to what appeared to be some mental problems that he was unfortunately experiencing, which somehow got by Ireland, who was claim to fame was that he was going to pinpoint exactly what was wrong with these guys, both mentally and physically. Strange. Now you've always heard this, Lubie. Is this not the most basic cliche for any football fan? And that is, they ask a coach, hey, what are you going to have to do to win this year? And he says, we're going to have to run the football and we're going to have to stop the run.
There you go.
All right. The two primary things in the game. Do they talk about special teams? No. They talking about the punter? No. They're talking about run the football and stop the run. I remember, when Jimmy Johnson took over as the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, he was not a fan of Dan Marino. He thought he was a shot fighter. And he kept insisting, we're going to run the football. We're going to run the football. And then later on in the season, he had to admit, we're not going to run it very well, but we're going to run the football. As he had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar going for 1 yard virtually every carry. That was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, gain of 1. I always love that coming over the loudspeaker. I mean, you can anticipate it. People were mouthing the words along with the stadium announcer. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, game of 1. But everybody's been emphasizing this forever, that to win in the National Football League, regardless of the total abandonment of any kind of ability to play defense against pass receivers and quarterbacks, that running the football is going to be an essential. You have to eat up some clock. You got to take up some time. You have to grind out some first downs. So how is it that you have this list? I mean, think about this. 5 running backs of like a dozen or so just absolutely stand out. And they're all available in free agency because nobody wants to pay the running back position anymore. No, I don't know, if that's a fair assessment, because what would you say? Is $12 million a year something to sneeze at? It is by today's NFL standards, is it not? Mm-hmm. If you're among the best players on your team.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on position. I mean, running backs would be very happy to be making $12 million a year. But other positions, $12 million is middle to low.
Yeah. You had only Taylor got guaranteed money of any substance last year when all of these guys were getting franchise tagged. And now they're all free agents. You got Austin Eckler, a touchdown machine. This guy's great. Could he not turn somebody's program around? Tony Pollard. Tough running son of a gun there, and a guy that is very accomplished. Derrick Henry, a human battering ram. He personally made Ryan Tannehill $100 million.
Yes, he made him. He extended his career 100%.
What was Ryan Tannehill without Derrick Henry? Nothing. Now all of a sudden, all he has to do is hand the ball off 40 times a game, And holy Ricky Williams, what do you have here? You have a guy that eventually is just going to wear out the defense to the point where he's going to run through 6 guys and go straight into the end zone from 70 yards out. Great running back.
Yes.
Josh Jacobs, deemed to be among the best in the league, and Saquon Barkley. All available as free agents, and without any, I mean, are you seeing any buzz about these guys going one place or another? I guess Houston is the team that you would think would benefit the most from picking up one of these players. Maybe. And supposedly they have the most money available, and they have to spend a bunch of money to get up to the salary cap. So would it not be somewhat fruitful for them to go ahead and pay one of these guys? How could they be in such little demand, or are they, Lubie? That's the question.
Not at all. I mean, Henry actually fits perfect with the Dolphins because the Dolphins have major short yardage issues and major red zone short yardage issues. But the Dolphins would want him at I'm at my last contract rate. Like, he's not going to get real money. That's the problem for the running backs is they have no leverage anymore. They have no, if they want to push it, teams are like, all right, fuck it. Look what the Dolphins did this year. I mean, Mostert and A-Chain was like a 3rd round pick that, because he had injury issues in college, people didn't put any weight into him. And again, he had injury issues in the pros. He was injured every other 3 games. And Mostert, same thing. Mostert is a guy that was injured a lot, moved around, had led the league in
the ultimate journeyman player in the NFL.
Touchdowns and yards this year, and then got injured. It's movable chairs. I mean, that's what it is. And
people think it's an interchangeable position at this point.
It's not. I think it 100% is. I mean, the Dolphins literally were supposedly the worst running back room in the AFC East. They had the best by the end of the year, and it wasn't even close. I mean, they blew away the rest of the division, including the Bills, where James Cook played way above his head. The Dolphins' running back room was great. And it was a bunch of dudes. That's just, I feel bad because these are legitimate playmakers. Barkley, Jacobs.
It's almost bad to establish a name for yourself at the position.
Well, it's just you can't fight over a contract. If you're smart, you take a decent contract long term and just play really well, because
no one's offering long term though.
I'm thinking 2-3 years. I don't mean 5-6 years. I mean 2-3 years. Once they go on a franchise tag as a running back, you're never getting a contract. They're just going to use you up and get rid of you. And so I don't know. I don't know if it's going to come back around. It sucks because these are key cogs of teams. We've seen what Pacheco can do for the Chiefs.
What happened to run the ball and stop the run being the key element of the game?
No. I don't.
Wouldn't you want the best guy at that position then, if you were a team? A, to prevent the other team from stopping your running game, and B, obviously, to be able to have the luxury of running the football and taking some of the heat off your quarterback, who's been getting crushed.
Look, it's good for a lot of these other guys that are unheard of, right? They're getting a shot that they never would have. Yeah. But it's ruined it for the big name guy, because you can get a guy in the 4th, 5th round that can be your starter every single year. That's literally what it is now. So teams are like, all right, okay, bye, Saquon. And it's it sucks because Saquon Barkley literally Daniel Jones got a big ass contract, much like Ryan Tannehill, because of Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones, they'll give him 2 to 3 more years, even though he clearly sucks. And Barkley now will be a journeyman, even though he was a guy that put him on his back to go to the playoffs. It's just it's a different time.
You think Daniel, he shouldn't feel any guilt about the money, should he, Daniel Jones?
Oh, take your money.
But it seems like, do you see him? He's on TV. He's featured a lot on FanDuel TV, which you find surprising. I happen to watch a lot of because of the horse racing element, which originally was programmed for. But now they have all these guys that were horse racing handicappers are picking hockey games, which is great. And then there was a woman on there, a chick that I thought was created by artificial intelligence. She's actually a real woman. She's picking games. Everybody's picking games. It's amazing. I mean, you have 20-year-old kids telling you that, and very attractive young women. I guess is that the draw for these young guys that are betting the $5 parlays?
100%.
And they're recommending 20-element parlays for $5.
And they're all stupid.
With the pay, I mean, you have to hit 20 different fucking things. You got to be kidding me.
You never would pay. This backup that you've never heard of will get this amount of rebounds.
Yes.
This backup you've never heard of will have this many assists. This guy will have this many points. And
Pascal Siakam will have 2 blocks.
Yeah, it's just.
I would never pay attention to whether Pascal Siakam, now with the Pacers, would have 2 blocks.
I didn't even know he was on the Pacers.
Hey, there's one. Right? You're sitting there, you got it in the first quarter. You happen to get a fingertip on a ball. All of a sudden, you're riveted to the game the rest of the way. Just, come on, Pascal. Pack him, baby. Pack him, Pascal.
Look, it works. These young guys are into it because of it, and gals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it infuses more enthusiasm into watching games, naturally, I'm all for it, you would imagine, right? I mean, but it is kind of crazy. But anyway, yeah, they have all of these people picking games for you now. And, it does seem insane. As Yeah, and who could possibly have an opinion on that many things? That's the other part of it. Well, I like this guy to do that. This guy's going to go over 400 yards. This guy's going to do this and that. Really, relatively crazy. What's going on? Did you have? This is one thing. Get back to the combine real quick. Was there an exercise? I mentioned the president's council on physical fitness or whatever that existed. Whatever happened to that council? Did it go the way of the World Boxing Council? I don't know. No, just rot with corruption. I'm not sure. But they had you do all of these stupid exercises, and then you would only hope to get a passing grade on the test, so you wouldn't have to run laps or something. And there was always the one exercise. I don't know. Did you have one exercise that just terrified you? When they would go to either gymnastics in gym class or some form of punishment type of exercise because somebody had graffitied the bathroom, with "fuck Mr. Heasel," and he was not pleased to have been the victim or been the subject of some unflattering remarks that were painted now in Krylon all across the bathroom doors. And then the most hideous exercise was known as the squat thrust, right?
Oh yeah.
That was the burpee, they called it when I was a kid. Yep. Okay, so you didn't want to do any of those, right? Like a few of those, and you were just absolutely knocked out. But there were embarrassing things like the Brady run and the 40-yard dash. For me, it was pull-ups. I was horrible at pull-ups. Can you do a lot of pull-ups, Lubie? You're pretty strong.
When I was working out a lot in college, I probably could have.
Chin-ups and pull-ups, ugliness, yeah.
Years ago, I got in good shape, and I would do literally. My buddy had the thing on the door, and he was my roommate. So literally every day I would do some. So I got to a good amount. But that you have to be in really good shape. That actually is a really good workout to test how strong.
Yeah, there was a kid, Reggie Jones. He was the strongest kid in our school, and surprisingly, a white guy named Reggie Jones. And he would get up on a pull-up bar, and he would always be the first guy. Boom, 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 boom. Does like 100 of them, and you're like, holy shit, holy Mitch Gaylord. What are we looking at here? Gaylord wasn't around then. And then I would be staggering at, they give you the boost up so you could do the first one.
Yeah.
And then you didn't want to go all the way down because you knew you were never going to be able to pull yourself all the way back up. Not even one. It was worse than Brady in the 40-yard dash, which, by the way, he celebrated the other day by eclipsing his time. Yesterday. Did you see the clips of that? Yeah, he did this on his own somewhere. And I guess he was like a 5.2 or something when he ran it at the combine.
Slower than Peyton.
It wasn't the time, really. It was the style. I mean, he looked like Timothy Robbins running out of the sewer there in Shawshank Redemption. I mean, he just didn't really have a lot of running for him, like he had just swum through a pile of shit to get to that point. But that was the one. I mean, Mahomes, I guess, was hoping that he petitioned somebody through some means not to show him being compared to running against really big linemen.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, which I guess, he had a 4.8 40 time.
Who cares? Get it. Oh, my God.
That they wanted this film erased as if it was the 18 minutes of the Watergate tapes in the White House, right? Get rid of that, will you? Yeah. Where's the bulk eraser?
He's becoming the thing that... The reason why people liked him was that he wasn't that thing.
He was like a normal guy. What happened to him?
That's why we loved him, was because he loved the game, and he sounded like he was a 50-year-old white baseball coach. Like his voice is nothing like the way he looks.
Exactly.
He was just a fun guy.
Some guy named Augie, right? I mean,
yes, that's what he sounds like. He's become like, and I get it. He's probably going to go down as a top 2 or 3 quarterback ever. It's hard to not have an ego. I understand, but who get Brady, who's the best ever? We watch that every year. Get over your fucking self.
Every year, yeah. I mean, they have him superimposed with Eisen, who's running in street shoes.
And Eisen beats him.
With a tie going and all kinds of crazy shit. Balding hair is just flying off the guy's head.
Come on.
As he pounds out a 6.2.
That's
but there was always that one exercise. I don't know. Rope climbing also was very negative.
Climbing, I've never tried, and I don't think I could do. I don't even know.
My God. It was so embarrassing, right? And then the people would all be giving you the business, too, as you were like halfway up and you realize you're not going any further. In fact, you're just hoping you don't fall to the mat like some bug on the turnpike, right? Where I mean, you're just mowing them down, fields of them at a time. And that was always embarrassing. But the 40-yard dash, I don't know that I would have a very fast time, even though at the time I was a fairly quick runner. But, from a time standpoint, it wasn't easy. You're thinking, how the hell do these guys run like a 9.9 100-yard dash? This is going way back. Now the number would be what? Did somebody ever eclipse 9 seconds yet? 100-yard dash, not meters, yard.
No idea.
Did they run that anywhere? I don't know. Track and field was also one of those things that when they brought it up in gym class, like, okay, we're doing track and field today, you would immediately, sign some forged signature from your mother on a medical.
Just running. Like, I don't want to just run.
Like, oh, the hurdles? Forget about that. Anyway, Brady not embarrassed. Mahomes, I brought this up because I was reading about Mahomes trying to squelch and somehow destroy this video that they have of him running the 40-yard dash. And you're thinking, the guy's making $50 million a year. This is what he's worried about?
Bad. 40's not bad for a quarterback that is known as a good passer. Like,
yeah.
It actually justifies the fact that he's not Lamar Jackson, but he runs pretty well and he runs purposeful.
And anyway, straight ahead running is not necessarily something that a quarterback is doing.
Unless you're Lamar Jackson or Deshaun Watson in a former life, like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, you need to have a few moves. That's what it's all about.
So weird. He's become weird.
Strange, yeah. No, he is getting weird. Okay, we got to run. Thanks, everybody. Degenerate Friday edition of the morning briefing. Caitlin Clark, by the way, going pro. So we speculated she would come back to college yesterday. Of course, we were in the know. That was inside information. And before our words had hit the airwaves, she'd announced she's going into the WNBA. All right, we'll see you guys on Monday. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy it. Springtime right around the corner here. If it isn't here already for you, which it is for us in South Florida. For Mike Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's edition of the Morning Briefing.